What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Avenue A, where we talk acting, we talk networking, and we talk the industry. Welcome back. We took a little couple-week hiatus, so it's really good to be back. We have another amazing guest tonight, so I'm really excited to be here, and thank you all for joining us for another episode. I hope everyone had a good week. I hope that, you got everything done that you needed to get done, and hopefully you can have a great weekend ahead. So grab your cocktails or your mocktails or your drink of choice, and let's dive right in. So yeah, let's just jump into it. I'm really excited about our guest tonight, because she and I sort of like crossed orbits. Like, we orbited each other at NYU, but we never really connected. And so this is sort of our first time connecting, and I'm really excited to be getting to know her as a fellow artist, and also to feature her and her amazing work and things that she has going on right now. So yeah, without further ado. So our guest tonight is Deana Taheri, and she's a British-Iranian actor, writer, director, and casting director based in New York City, and she's a graduate of NYU Tisch. She is passionate about creating and performing new work that challenges the medium and making space for the voices of diverse and international artists. Her latest credits include audiobooks Victoria's Highway on Audible and Pieces with Penguin Random House, and international short film Transplant with Bad Behavior Lab. So without further ado, let's welcome Deana to the stage. Hello.
Hey, hi, thank you for having me, Kelsey.
Thank you so much for joining me. I was telling you this backstage, but it was such an honor to have you reach out to me and ask to be on the show. That's only happened like a couple of times, and I'm always so honored when it does.
Oh, that's, of course, anytime. I'll come on again.
I love it. I love it. So I'm really interested to talk to you because you have so much going on. You're a writer, you're an actor, you're a director, you are an international actor too. So let's just start off. Can you tell us a little bit about your artistic journey and what led you to New York City and to NYU?
Oh, totally. So, like you said, I'm international, so I've kind of moved all over the place. I'm half English, half Iranian, was born in the UK, bopped around kind of all over the place. I lived in California for a little bit, moved back to the UK, moved around. Then most recently, before moving to New York, I lived in Qatar in the Middle East, which is where I went to an American school, which was the first time I'd been, well, actually, no, other than preschool, like kindergarten when I was in California, the first time I'd been in an American education system, and also in an international community. So I'd sort of been one of those people that had been moved all over the place, but I'd always been to public schools in England and been around people who, for the most part, had lived in that one place for most of their life so far. So it was kind of difficult to find people who were, I felt, kindred with, in that sense of not necessarily instability, but not necessarily a groundedness and oh, okay, this is this is my base. This is where I'm from. So when I moved to Doha, I went to an American school where there were 72 nationalities. The country is made up of pretty much the majority are expats. So people like the Qatari population is the minority of the country. So I was suddenly surrounded by all of these people who'd had similar experiences to me. And I was like, whoa, the world is so much bigger and so much more open than I thought it was. And going to school there, I actually had a drama teacher who was like, you should consider doing the NYU summer high school. And I was like, NY what? Like, I don't know what we're talking about. Yeah. And so I auditioned and I got into NSB, the summer program.
Nice.
And I went there, and even though honestly, to be totally honest, I was so homesick the entire time. But despite that, I fell in love with New York. I fell in love with the program. And during my senior year, going back to high school, and I kind of became ready to go to fly the nest finally, I was like, okay, I know that this is where I want to go. And I also, NYU would do digital submissions. So I was like, great, I can apply to NYU. And, if I don't get in, I'll figure that out after. But fingers crossed I get in. And so I got in, and I decided to apply for acting instead of musical theater, because I sort of knew that I was never going to want to, not that going to NSB would necessarily be a limitation of my skill set. I just knew that if I wanted to focus on one of the three, I would want it to be acting, because there was more I wanted to explore.
So for those watching who aren't familiar with the NYU system, NSB is the musical theater studio where they focus on musical theater training, and then they also have multiple other studios that focus on acting. So you did the NSB musical theater summer training in high school, and then when you applied, you only wanted to do the acting program, or did you apply for both?
Yeah. No, I actually didn't apply musical theater at all. I think I just kind of was like, I think I know where I kind of want to go. And if I go for acting purely, then it doesn't necessarily mean that I will never sing or dance again, So but I knew where I wanted to focus my time. And so I got into Strasbourg, the Strasbourg studio, loved it there, was there for 3 years. And then transferred to Stone Street Studio my senior year, which was obviously, as we all know, cut short kind of in person by the pandemic. And so now I'm kind of professional, navigating the professional world as a graduate into this crazy kind of, it's coming back to life industry.
It's like in zombie mode right now. Like, it's like not fully dead like it was, but it's also not alive.
That's a perfect way to put it.
I definitely feel you on that. That's amazing. That's really cool. I also applied virtually to NYU, so I never came to the campus. No, I did everything virtual. So I hadn't met a lot of people who also did the virtual submission. So it's cool to know that
hi, nice to meet you.
Yeah, right? So you mentioned when we were speaking earlier that you and some friends from NYU are starting a mixed medium artists lab. With your first production to premiere this summer. So can you tell us a bit about what that is, what was the conception of that idea, and how are you bringing it to fruition during this moment in the pandemic?
Absolutely. So me and my good friends, Julia DiLorenzo and Zach Bransford, who were both also in Strasbourg with me, from freshman year, we'd all known each other, and
we have Zach here tonight in the comments.
Yeah, Zach, my biggest fan. Hi, Zach.
I love
it. So we all kind of came together during, it was sort of the end of 2020, because Julia had written a play, and I'm not going to say too much about that because we're still in the works. But Julia had written a play and had brought Zach and I on board, and we absolutely fell in love with the script, and we've always worked really well together. and Julia had written these roles in this script for a group of particular actors that we knew and we wanted to work with and collaborate with. And so we were working on that kind of separately. And then it was mid-March, so really not that long ago, that we sort of came together and we're like, why don't we just make this a thing? Like, why don't we actually establish ourselves as what we're calling an artist's lab, because we don't want to define ourselves as purely theater, purely film, because we want to be able to do it all. And not to be braggy, but we can, like we have the
Yes.
skill set, and why wouldn't we give ourselves the opportunity to do everything? And so that's where Bad Behavior was born. And so we basically started with the idea of that this play would premiere under the lab, but also we started a bi-weekly live streaming series called Go to Your Room, which is basically starting with, it has two parts, starting with a series of shorts, like short sketches, songs, dances, anything you want, to be debuted and premiered on our platform. And then the second part consists of a live streamed original play directed by a professional director that we are live streaming. So it's literally happening in the moment, but it lives
Yes.
in perpetuity on YouTube anyway.
Very cool.
So that has been something that we've been working on, and it's been really exciting to explore perspective, I think, especially in the live streaming aspect of doing a
Yeah.
play,
Yeah.
because obviously we've entered this virtual world that we can't avoid, and we don't want to apologize for being virtual, because
Right.
it's the way it is right now. We're not going to pretend like it's not.
Right.
And so we were trying to think of ways that we can use the medium to our advantage by like using the audience's perspective, like the camera. So being able to give them an eye line of a play that you might not necessarily get watching it on
Right.
stage. So we're kind of experimenting, we're exploring, we're able to work with some really, really cool directors. We've had Leah Reddy, Jenny Beth Snyder, and now we have Olivia Songer coming up. A lot of really cool people, and some
Yes.
awesome people writing for us too. Julia and me included. And then we
Yes.
have Jared Yeoman's writing next week, and there's just a lot of fun stuff. Like, we wanted to give ourselves and other artists of like our fellow artists emerging right now a space to be able to debut their work, and also kind of present a challenge, like, oh, okay, I've got 2 weeks to make something that's a minute long. Why
Right.
not? Why not work that creative muscle? Because I think that's something that was difficult to motivate. I mean, speaking for myself, difficult to motivate myself to do when there's nothing going on.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, we're going to create our own opportunities. And we also did just most recently, which I'm editing right now, literally 2 minutes before I was talking to you, our first short film, Transplant, which is something I wrote about my experience and the experience of a lot of international people, including a lot of the people on the team of the film. The experience of being international and the absence of stability and belonging, and that can come with that. But
Sure.
it's not all sad. So it's a happy ending.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I love that you call Bad Behavior Lab a mixed medium artist lab, instead of a
Mhm.
theater company, because for two reasons. I love the multi hyphenate, sort of like aspect of that,
Mhm.
because right now, especially, like, there isn't theater really, right? Like, theater is expanding so much because we're not doing it in the traditional way, which is really
Right.
beautiful in a sense. So it's no longer just like when you think of theater, you think, oh, I go watch a play on a stage, right? Because we've had
Mhm.
to create all of these like alternative ways to do theater. So
Absolutely.
I love that you're calling it a mixed medium artist lab, and it sounds like that is truly what it is. Like, you're
Mhm.
exploring new ways of expressing theater, right, and performing theater and producing theater, but then you're also, exploring other ways of creating that might not be like traditionally considered theater necessarily. And I think that's so cool.
Right. Oh, thank you. Well, I think we also were like, what can we do that is achievable in a short, in a bi-weekly on a bi-weekly basis. So
Right.
like if we're able to create a short play, original theater is something that I feel like, especially during the pandemic, is sadly missing. But
Yeah.
luckily, things are starting to pop up around. Literally, NY pop-ups is happening, and like that's super exciting.
Yeah.
But we're hoping that our medium can act as its own version of
Mm.
theater. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be, we are trying to do live theater as you might imagine it, because it's not, and we're not
Right.
trying to make it that.
Right.
We're trying to give it its own vessel, and because we're we've been living in this virtual world, we wanted to really, highlight the virtualness of it by including digital pre-recorded pieces at the start and the end, because why not? And it's a
Yeah.
fun show. Like I think, I mean, hopefully if you come, it's a really good time, because it's a lot of people sharing work that they are proud of, and I think that in itself is just really, really beautiful. Yeah.
It's very beautiful, especially right now, where there aren't maybe the same amount of opportunities or like built-in opportunities that there were before, especially for graduates, I
Totally.
think. Like I've been feeling, having recently graduated, I'm like, where's my like built-in like class of people? Like where's my like
Right.
cast, my rehearsal? Like there's no, it feels so different because we're all
Mhm.
isolated. And so it's so important, and it is beautiful, like you said, to create those groups and for people to
Yeah.
come together and have a place to create.
Hmm.
So I want to go back to something that you mentioned before. You said you were editing your short film Transplant, and it's about the experiences of being an international student and person. So as an international actress yourself, how are you navigating the pandemic as an artist? And relatedly, how has the artist visa process been like for you? Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. It's never a simple process, no matter what is going on in the world. But I think,
Yeah.
and not to be like, woe is me, but the pandemic really hasn't helped,
Yeah.
because opportunities that would have most likely been there, whether I'd have gotten them or not, have not been there.
Right.
Um, like, I wasn't expecting to book a Netflix gig this year, but I definitely wasn't going to,
Right.
but like I
Right.
wasn't going to get anything else either. So
Yeah.
but in a way, I'm kind of grateful, because it has given me the kick up the bum, as my mum would say, to really create opportunities for myself, and to
Mm.
really, Zach says this all the time, to like reach out rather than reaching up. So like, rather than trying to grab onto the
Yes.
coattails of people that are, above us and trying to like climb the ladder, we can
Mm-hmm.
create a beautiful, strong foundation as kindred artists at a growing level and a collaborative level, where we can all genuinely see ourselves as peers and not
Yeah.
feel like there's a hierarchy. And I think that, like, absolutely, I'm not going to say no to any opportunities that come from heaven,
Right.
but
Right.
I'm not going to sit around and wait for them either.
Yeah.
Because I'm bored of doing that. And
Yeah.
it was becoming really tiring to be like sitting around twiddling my thumbs and kind of waiting for stuff to happen in
Yeah.
an industry that didn't exist at the point when we graduated. Like
Right.
literally nothing was happening, especially
Right.
not for us.
Right.
I mean, maybe for George Clooney stuff was happening, but like not for you and me.
Right.
And so I think yeah, it's made me grateful, and it's pushed me to actually, you know stay true to my word and not be a hypocrite of myself, and actually make the move to collaborate with all these people that I absolutely adore and work so well with.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not easy, but I'm grateful nonetheless.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That sort of leads me right into the next question I was wanting to ask you, which is when you talk about reaching out instead of reaching up, that is a concept that I have been thinking a lot about in relation to networking. Because this platform has a big emphasis on networking, because that is a concept that's always been so both interesting to me because I knew it was important, but also super daunting as a young
Mm,
actor. And I feel like when I was in school, every teacher had a different definition of what networking was and what you
mhm.
should be doing, right? Like it was always this like
Right.
networking is this like kind of scary thing that no one wants to do, but you have to do it, right?
Right.
So
Totally.
I want to know, what does networking mean to you, and has your perspective of that concept changed over the years maybe?
Oh, totally. Absolutely. So going back to when I was a student, which is actually really crazy to say because it doesn't feel like that long ago, but it's nearly a year now. So
I
I'm like kind
know.
of grossed out by that. But
I know.
it is what it is.
It is what it
But
is.
back in the day when I was a student, I knew that I wanted to really make an effort to network with like guests that would come into class and stuff like that. And then
Yeah.
Stone Street Studios does their Monday industry evenings where you get to kind of audition in front of agents and managers and
Yeah.
casting directors. And so I always knew that I wanted to put a real great deal of effort into connecting with those people.
Mm.
And I did do a pretty good job. And that's kind of how I fell into casting as well.
Mm.
Because I met Anne Goulder, who was the casting director for Black Swan, um, when she came into Strasbourg for a masterclass. And I went up to her afterwards and I was like, hey, if you ever need an assistant, let me know. And I really, wasn't expecting anything to come for a minute. And then she emailed me during the summer that year being like, are you free tomorrow for the next few weeks? I need an assistant to help me cast this indie film. And I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, sign me up, I'm there.
Yeah. Drop
And
everything. Yes.
right. But so she really gave me this foundational experience of like how to cast a project, and
Mm.
also the insight of how casting directors actually go through people's auditions and
Yeah.
how much time they spend and what makes your audition worthwhile.
Mm.
And so that was like mind blowing. And I think especially at that point, I it was like the end of my junior year. So I still like senior year, really, I feel like even though half of it was butchered by the pandemic, I feel like I learned the most that year.
Yeah.
But so she gave me all of this foundational experience and then recommended me to Billy Hopkins, who won an Emmy for casting When They See Us on Netflix. And so I helped him and his team cast 2 CBS pilots that year. And that was just so that was like a network to a network, and that
Yeah.
like that felt really good because I was like, oh, I'm doing the thing, the networking
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Um, and so like from doing that, I have not only been able to work with professionals and feel like a professional, and being a professional, not just feel like one. But anyway,
Yes. Yes.
but that's also led me to be able to cast some of my own friends' projects.
Mm.
So Zach actually cast a short film that he's working on. He hired me to cast it. And then from there, the AD on his project, Emily,
Mm-hmm.
was working on her own short film and asked if I would cast that too. So
Yeah.
I've been able to take my casting assistant experience and apply it to being the sole casting director on projects, which has been really cool.
Yeah.
Um, and also, so like Anne Goulder, the first casting director that I worked with, has given me multiple audition opportunities since then because she knows me.
Yeah.
So as an actor, that did work out kind of, like it's still
Yeah.
opportunities. I'm not going to rely on one person to give me all my auditions or whatever,
Right. Right.
but still knowing that the effort that I made just to go to get out of my comfort zone and talk to this woman
Yeah.
did give me a lot more than I ever thought it would. So I'm still really grateful for that experience. Yeah.
And I love this comment from Zane. He says it's all about chance. Most people get it, but they just kind of miss it. And I feel like that really
Mm.
speaks to like that masterclass you had with that casting director. I feel like probably most of the students were just like, thank you so much. They leave the room. But you were like, I
Mm.
feel like I need to at least try to connect with her, right? Like, so you took
Right.
the leap and you went out of your comfort zone because it's not easy to do that. I've definitely been in rooms where I'm like, "Ugh," like I want to like say something, but I'm just like it's hard, especially
Well,
when
I think
they're
it
they're
can
kind of
also be,
revered.
oh, absolutely. But
Yeah.
yeah, it can be, I think there's like the line you walk between being genuine and wanting to work with somebody and like
Yeah.
kissing their butt a little bit. And
Right.
I
Right.
definitely have been on both sides of that line. I'm not going to pretend like I haven't
Yes.
kissed butts in my time. But, it's just sometimes the way that things come out. And like, I think it it can feel difficult being at a level where you're, especially with meeting industry professionals and feeling like you have to kind of kiss their feet in order to get any respect.
Right.
And that's kind of where it comes back to really paying attention to the people around you as well as the people above you.
Mm.
Because the people around you are going to come up with you. And
Yeah.
you want to be able to, why would we not support one another in this? In like, there's going to be a time when all those people are not going to, they're going to retire. They're going to move upstate and they're going to get a cottage somewhere and,
That's
settle
right.
down and not care anymore.
That's
But
right.
we're still going to be around and we're still going to care. And so that I think that we can, that's really where it came from, is like trying to connect with all the people around me and like,
Mm.
yeah, that's it really. I'm just waffling now.
No, I think that's so great, and it's a concept that I've heard before, the reaching out instead of reaching up. But for some reason, it always I forget about it, because I think we've been so ingrained. At least I have in my life, in my artistic life, in my training, to like try and scheme like who can you connect with, who's like above you. But I really do think that you're so spot on about we are the ones who are doing this now, and we are the ones who are going to be doing it for the next many, many years, right? So there's
Absolutely.
something really beautiful and inspiring about that, to be able to connect with people now who you're going to be working with probably for a long time, right?
Hmm.
I think it's so exciting.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It really is.
Okay, so my last question before we end the interview: when you feel overwhelmed or unfocused, this could be artistically, this could be personally, what do you
Mhm.
do?
Um, Also, what I've gotten into painting, honestly. And it's been really cool for me because I never considered myself as like an artist really, but I used to doodle a lot with I used to love drawing rooms for some reason. There's something really soothing. Like I'm looking at my kitchen right now, and there's something really soothing about like kitchens, I don't know, or like rooms and drawing
Yes.
them, and I don't know. So that was something that I used to always kind of doodle around doing. And it was only fairly recently that I sort of tried painting. And so that's something that has actually played a role in the film as well, of being able to like find yourself within another creative outlet that is not, I mean, for me personally, that is not necessarily my one thing or my
Right.
thing.
Right.
Um, so that's definitely up there. But also, I think Be kind to yourself. Take a moment. If you're overwhelmed, stop what you're doing. Go have a shower, drink some water, do a face mask. Be kind to yourself. Hug someone you love,
Yeah.
or elbow bump them if
Right.
you're not vaccinated.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, just be nice to yourself. I think, and I'm definitely a hypocrite because I can when I'm doing something, I want to go for it until it's done, and kind of I can find it difficult to give myself time to stop and
Mm,
tell myself, oh no, Deana, it's actually, you're doing a lot. It's okay. You can chill right now. You can watch an episode of TV.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, just be nice to yourself. That's my answer.
I think that, I mean, that is so underrated. Like, as much as it gets talked about, I still feel like that concept is underrated, because it's just
Right.
so darn hard to do sometimes.
Oh,
So, yeah,
totally.
the reminder is helpful for sure. Well, Deana, thank you so much for joining me on the show. You brought such an amazing energy, and I'm so thankful that we could connect on this platform. And I'm also really excited to see where Bad Behavior Lab goes. It sounds like you guys are already doing so many amazing things in different areas, which is really, really exciting to me. So, yeah, I wish you all the luck in the world. And
Oh.
yeah, I'm excited to tune into your next live stream because I didn't actually know you guys were doing live streams.
Oh yeah, I think that's something, that's a growing part of it too, that we want to be able to make a bit more of a splash about it. So hopefully you'll be seeing
Yes.
more. And thank you so much for having me. And you should submit a piece or something if you want to get
Yes,
your
I think
creative
I
bones
might.
moving. Yeah,
I
absolutely.
do.
There's
I
always
definitely
room.
do. Yeah,
There's always
okay. Thank
room.
you. For those people who are
Absolutely.
watching, you can find Instagram. Deana's personal page is here, and then Bad Behavior Lab, both on Instagram. And then also, if you want to check Deana's website, there it is. Check her out, give her a follow, give her a subscribe, to follow all of the awesome work that's happening. Well, thank you again for joining me on this Friday evening. It was such a pleasure, Deana. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This is wonderful.
Yay. Bye.
Bye.
All right, that concludes another episode of Avenue A. Thank you so much for being here with us. This has been episode number 38. Can you believe it? I cannot. We have 2 more episodes and then we close season 2. So that's pretty exciting. I'm pumped. It's been a long journey, almost a year. When Deana was talking about how we graduated almost a year ago, that blew my mind. And I started Avenue A couple weeks after I graduated. So crazy times, y'all. But thank you so much for tuning in. We had some amazing people in the comments. Zane, thank you so much for tuning in. You've been an awesome and consistent supporter, so thank you so much for being here. We have Zach. Thanks for tuning in, Zach. It's nice to kind of connect with you because you're friends with Deana and I've never met you, so thanks for being here. We have CJ. Thanks for being here, CJ. CJ is an OG day one supporter of Avenue A, and he was a guest. If you want to check out CJ's episode, you can find it on my YouTube channel. We have Dana. Thanks so much, everyone. We have my mom. Thanks for being here. My grandma. #1 fans. Everyone's showing up tonight. Hi, Nadine. So yeah, okay, I'm gonna end the episode now. Thank you again. We'll see you next week for episode number 39 with another amazing guest, so stay tuned. Bye.